The fallout from Caitlin Clark being left off the Olympic roster did not just bruise egos or spark a few angry talk shows. It detonated an entire power structure that had grown too comfortable operating in the shadows. What happens when the most marketable, most talked about, most needle-moving player in women's basketball is excluded from the sport's biggest global stage? The answer is simple and devastating. The system that made that decision starts collapsing under its own weight. At the time, the decision-makers spoke with confidence, almost arrogance. They insisted the process was pure, clinical, untouched by popularity or optics. Experience mattered, chemistry mattered, marketability did not. That was the official line, but the public response exposed just how detached that thinking had become from reality. Fans were not just disappointed, they were furious. Broadcasters questioned the logic. Executives quietly cringed, and within weeks, it became clear that this was not a minor misstep. It was a historic miscalculation. The moment Clark was excluded, the Olympics lost what could have been appointment viewing. Casual fans who might tune in once every 4 years suddenly had no reason to care. Entire international audiences who had discovered women's basketball through Clark's college run and early WNBA impact were left staring at a roster that felt familiar, safe, and oddly uninspiring. What should have been a global showcase felt flat, and everyone knew it. Behind the scenes, pressure mounted fast. USA Basketball could not ignore the data. Ticket demand followed Clark everywhere. Ratings spiked when she played. Merchandise sales exploded. Her presence did not just elevate her own team, it elevated the entire league. And yet, the committee tasked with shaping the Olympic roster chose to treat her like a marketing inconvenience rather than a generational asset. That contradiction became impossible to defend. The scrutiny quickly shifted to the people responsible. The selection committee, long insulated by tradition and vague accountability, suddenly found itself under a microscope. Names that once carried authority now carried blame. The philosophy that had governed women's Olympic basketball for years was being questioned openly, not just by fans, but by influential voices across the sport. The idea that experience should always outweigh innovation no longer held up when the team nearly stumbled on the biggest stage. Cheryl Reeve's fingerprints were impossible to ignore. While she publicly distanced herself from the decision, the roster construction told a different story. The team reflected her coaching preferences almost perfectly. Defensive first, veterans over creators, familiarity over firepower. It was a roster designed to fit a system, not to dominate a tournament. And while the gold medal was ultimately secured, it came uncomfortably close to slipping away. The narrow escape against France exposed the cracks. Stagnant defense, limited spacing, a desperate need for shot creation when defenses collapsed. Exactly the kind of moments where a player like Clark thrives. What made the backlash even louder was what happened next. Instead of shrinking, Clark exploded. After being cut, her numbers surged, her confidence sharpened. Her control of games reached a new level. She broke records. She orchestrated offense with a poise that silenced any lingering doubts about readiness. Every performance after the snub made the original decision look worse. Not debatable, worse. That was the tipping point. USA Basketball could no longer pretend this was about one player. The Clark situation had exposed a deeper flaw, a rigid, committee-driven structure that diluted responsibility and resisted adaptation. Too many voices, too little accountability, too much deference to past hierarchies. In a sport undergoing rapid growth, that model was no longer viable, so the reset began. The most significant change came quietly, then, all at once. The committee model was dismantled. In its place, a single managing director would hold real authority. One voice, one vision, one person accountable for success or failure. And that person was Sue Bird. This was not a symbolic appointment, it was a seismic shift. Bird is not just a legend. She is a bridge between eras. She understands the grind of international competition and the realities of modern sports business. She knows how stars change leagues. She knows how moments create movements. And unlike the committee she replaces, she understands that basketball excellence and marketability are not enemies. They are partners. Under Bird's leadership, there will be no hiding behind group decisions. If a player is selected, it is because she fits the vision. If a player is left off, the explanation will be clear. This mirrors the men's program, where direct accountability transformed Team USA into a global juggernaut. The women's side is finally adopting the same philosophy. For Caitlin Clark, the implications are enormous. The road to Los Angeles in 2028 looks completely different now. There is no longer a wall of politics standing between her and the Olympic stage. There is a decision-maker who has openly acknowledged her impact, her skill, and her value to the sport. A phone call from Sue Bird carries weight, credibility, trust. It signals a future built on both winning and relevance. This shift is not just about Clark. It is about the future of women's basketball. The sport is no longer fighting for visibility. It has it. What it needs now is leadership willing to embrace the moment rather than fear it. But Clark's snub was a wake-up call. Painful, public, necessary. USA Basketball learned the hard way that ignoring star power does not preserve integrity. It erodes interest. The Olympics are not just about medals. They are about stories that capture the world's attention, about athletes who make people stop scrolling and start watching. Caitlin Clark is one of those athletes. Leaving her out once may have been defended. Letting it happen again would be unforgivable. With Sue Bird at the helm, that mistake is unlikely to repeat itself. Transparency replaces secrecy, vision replaces rigidity, and the future suddenly feels aligned with reality. The real question now is not whether Caitlin Clark will make the Olympic team. It is how the sport will look when she finally does. Will the game fully embrace its new era? Will leadership continue to evolve? Or will old instincts try to creep back in when the spotlight fades? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe the committee